I think most people fail in business because they're afraid to fail. So like I even talk to my employees and managers all the time, and that's one of my biggest pet peeves. He's like, but I didn't fail. I was like, yeah, because you didn't try.
All right, guys, welcome back to Breaking Barriers. You have seen the Dos Equis commercial, the guy who's the most interesting man in the world. Well, I know the real guy, okay?
Yeah.
This guy, Alex Groyzburg, in the building, who is the owner of Slice, the CEO, founder of Slice. You've been in the payment processing game for over, I think, almost 30 years.
This is my 20th year.
20 years. And you are a Russian immigrant that came to this country in 92.
Yep.
And your family, you're going to dive into it. So part of what makes you the most interesting man in the world is how much you love history.
I do love
And
history.
so, but, you know, so Alex came to this country with his family, was put in Brooklyn, you know, in a small apartment with 9 people,
Yeah.
right? And in a really hot summer. And, you know, and it's so interesting because when I hear that story, when you've told me that in the past, what blew my mind about that, Alex, is that, like, when you think about people who are successful, a lot of them were in really uncomfortable positions. You know, you guys left Russia because of communism and all these other things that were not kosher. And you came to this country, and it wasn't like you had a golden spoon in your mouth.
Nah,
Right?
definitely the opposite.
Right. So you came here, and you had like really tough licks getting in here.
Yeah.
So if you can, for people that are like, well, you know, what brought you guys to Brooklyn, and then, you know, how and we'll start there. What brought you to Brooklyn?
Well, my father's mom, so my grandma, was already there. She was already in the U.S. for like 2 years.
Okay.
And they were in Brooklyn. So most people came and moved to Brooklyn because that was like the place where people from Russia went. So people from Russia, from Ukraine, like my father's actually Ukrainian, my mom is Russian. And it's kind of like a mix of cultures, you know.
Right.
It's we were always like kind of one people. It
Right.
wasn't the division that there is now.
Yeah. Right.
So when we came, it was, definitely a tough start. But I think that's kind of what makes you stronger. You know, when we came, we lived there for a little bit. Then we moved to our own apartment. So now we had a 1-bedroom for just the 7 of us.
Right.
You know, and I remember going out and, you know, picking furniture with my father on Wednesdays. Every other Wednesday was a holiday for us
Right.
because they would put out the furniture and we would walk around and, you know, collect nice chairs or
Just scoop it
a
up.
couch here and there. Yeah. So, and I remember in my first introduction to what a businessman was when my uncle came in 94. And he came.
So you're here for
and
2 years now.
We were here for 2 years. Yeah.
You're 11.
I'm 11. My parents are still getting situated. You know, we got off welfare rather quickly. I think my parents got a job within 2-3 months, but it wasn't like their profession. My mom was a Russian literature teacher, so you know that's not a needed subject here.
Right.
And my father, you know, was an engineer, like a gas engineer. He worked for a company called Gazprom, so the biggest gas company in Russia. So he came here. He ended up working in the deli, you know, slicing turkey. And then my uncle came in 94. And he was already a businessman in Russia at the time. He basically ended up inheriting like a business that he was working in. He came and, you know, from my point of view, I was 11, and he came and he just blessed us. Just came, he bought us 3 gifts, right? He bought us an air conditioner, which I thought was probably one of my favorite gifts. He brought us a microwave,
Wow.
and he brought us our first computer.
Damn.
Yeah.
You know, and
Yo,
I remember
blessed.
playing Doom on the computer, and my father actually went and became a computer programmer once he got the computer. So
Wow.
that's how we came up. And he finally later, once he went to the courses and finished the courses, he got a normal job, and then he was able to actually, you know, within like 3 years, he was able to go and buy his own house,
Wow.
which was pretty amazing.
Shout out to Unks.
Yeah. So my
Damn.
uncle then came and he was like, oh, no, he had a big business in Russia. He was very excited. And then 2 years later, he moved to America because business in Russia is ran very differently
Than here.
You know, than here. Yeah, the mob came. They took his daughter.
Right.
And, you know, it was kind of like a situation. Then they said,
Wow.
listen, you either pay us or you leave. So he left.
Right.
So he came here. So business became like a taboo subject in my family. They're like, no business. Only criminals go into business.
Wow.
That old school Russian mentality. Because that's how it was in Russia. In Russia, you're
Right.
either a mobster or a government employee that goes into business. Otherwise, you're not. Who else is doing business?
Right.
So when I came and I told my mom that I'm going to start my own business, she said, absolutely not. No child of
What are you,
mine.
crazy?
Yeah. And I went to school for a business management degree. And my father would always make fun of me, like, oh, yeah, you're going to come in and there people are going to be lining up the door. Come run my business. Come run my business. He just kept making fun of me. So, and it's true. I came out of school and nobody wanted me to run their business.
Yeah, right.
So I had to build my own.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Right.
So, and it was tough in the beginning, because we had no capital. We had no money. Nobody wanted to give us money.
Right.
Now things are much easier. Now I don't need the money, and now everyone wants to lend me money. So.
Right. Yeah. Is your uncle still living?
No, him and my father both passed.
Did they get to see your coming up?
Yes. So my uncle was always very proud.
Dude, that's
and my
awesome.
father, yeah, they my uncle told me that I basically achieved what he wasn't able to achieve.
Wow,
Yeah.
dude, Alex, I have the chills right now, man.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Seeing that shift in your uncle, the one who motivated you to actually get into business,
Yeah.
what was that thing running in the back of your mind saying, like, I know this happened to my uncle. This is what my family's telling me. You guys are very close. What kept you motivated to say, like, no, this is the path set for me. I'm not going to let anything stop me, and I'm going to keep moving forward.
So, I just wanted to be financially independent. That was my goal, right? And I saw my friends doing this and that and getting jobs. And, I'm a math guy. So I started counting. I'm like, I don't think there's any way to have a job and be financially independent. Like, those two things don't mix. So I was like, if I want to be financially independent and do the things that I want to do, I have to have my own business.
Yeah.
So I worked for a few places. I actually my first job was for a bank. I worked for a bank.
How old were you?
I was like 19.
Okay.
I worked for a bank called Independence Bank. They're no longer around. They got bought by a bank called Sovereign. And I worked for the bank, and I was killing it. I got a customer service job. I was basically like a person when you walk into a bank, you want to open an account.
Right.
That was me. And I was killing it. It was uptown Manhattan, like on 82nd and Broadway. And I would trek there every day. And I was killing it. I worked there for a year. And I had a supervisor. His name was Joey. And I had the branch manager. Her name was Deborah. So I was killing it. We had the vice president of the bank come because I broke like all the records for the most accounts open, most volume.
Wow.
And the guy came up to me one day, and I remember this. He came up. He's like, Alex, you got to calm down. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, well, you can't do so well. I was like, I'm 20 years old. I'm like, I don't understand. What do you mean? Isn't that the point? We just had the regional vice president come to visit us because I put up all these numbers.
Right.
He's like, yeah, you're making everybody look bad. I was like,
Corporate
what do you
America.
mean? I was like, what do you mean making everyone? He's like, you can't do that. He's like, everyone else is not going to like you. He's like, you're going to have a problem. I was like, this guy's out of his mind. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
So I just kept breaking records, kept crushing it. And then I remember the manager would come up to me, the lady, and she was like, Alex, you can't be making so much commotion. Just relax. Just go sit down. You already did your numbers for the month. I was like, I know, but it's the 7th of the month. I want to do more numbers. I want to break records. She's like, we're not trying to break any records. I'm like, let's do a show. Let's bring people in. Let's do like a thing. No, we don't want to do anything. We already had our numbers for the month. Let's just relax.
Right.
And then one day, I kept doing numbers. I came in, and she's like, you're 15 minutes late. I was like, oh, no, I have a train pass. There was a train delay. She's like, nope, you're fired. I was like, fired? I was like, I'm the number one producer in the whole bank. There was like 80 branches. I'm like number one person in the bank. She's like, yeah, and you're trying to get my job. I'm like, yeah, I guess. I never really thought about it that way. I'm like, yeah, I guess I do want to be a manager. Like, that's kind of the goal. She's like, yeah, you see what the problem is? She's like, you're going to take my job. You're going to get promoted to a branch manager. She's like, and they're not going to promote me further up. So I'm going to just lose my job. So I'm going to let you go now before you come and take my job. She's like, I know what you're trying to do here. It was a long train ride back home that day.
Yeah.
I was like a 2-hour train ride. And I was like, wow, I can't believe this just happened to me.
What a mind fuck.
Yeah, because you work hard. You're taught like if you work hard, you move up and you do the right things.
Yeah.
And here I was in this situation where I got fired for doing too well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the next job I got, I was like, I was already starting to think about, well, I was kind of like beat up. I was actually scared to do well with the next job I got.
Interesting.
And I kept thinking like, okay, I should probably start my own thing.
Mm-hmm.
I should probably start my own thing. And I got into the processing industry. I worked for someone else and then, started up my own thing eventually.
Which now knowing that you were a numbers guy, it makes
Yeah.
so much sense seeing you like in your tactical shit, like because you're so good at numbers. Dude.
Yeah.
Like this guy, the way you look at, and I think there's a lot to learn from how you operate your business, which we'll get into. But I always thought I was crazy because like the way that I look at my numbers and my accounts and stuff like that, and I think you're at a different level than most business owners because I'm a marketing guy. So like the way you look at your like CPLs and all those different numbers that you have, you're like probably one of like, you're definitely in the very low 1% of like business owners that we work with. And we work with, Fortune 500 companies that like know the numbers that at like,
Yeah.
I mean, just pull up a sheet in 2 seconds and tell you everything. But what's so inspiring to me, and dude, like I got emotional for a second, like and like thinking about your uncle blessing you guys, right? And like what that air conditioner meant and that computer to you and your father and his future career and your future career and whatever. And it's like when you think about it, at some point in everybody's life, somebody gets blessed. Everybody. Like there's nobody who doesn't have a person that comes to them and is a change maker in their life.
Yeah.
At some point.
Yeah.
For better or for worse. And it's just so cool that he got to see you come up like that and do that. Because like the person that motivated you to do that, a lot of times people like that person passes or like they don't ever see it or there's a disagreement, they have a falling out. Like the fact that he was proud of you and saw that.
It was
pretty
interesting,
cool.
yeah, because he did get to see it. I mean, I'll never forget when we went shopping for that air conditioner. He took out a stack of hundreds out of his pocket. I've never even seen 100 before that.
Right.
And he just took out a stack and just paid for everything in cash, and I just made my jaw drop. I was like,
whoa.
How do you
Where'd you get
How
that?
do you get so much money?
Yeah.
So when I sold my first portion of my company, like a first portfolio, and I bought my house, and he came, and I went from 700 square feet to 7,000 square feet, and 6 acres, and he came and he looked around. He's like, "Oh, you're in trouble." I'm like, "Why am I in trouble?" He's like, "Oh, you're gonna need to have staff here." I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "You can't maintain this by yourself."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, you're being silly."
Right.
Now I have staff.
Yeah.
I did it myself for the first 4 or 5 years, and then I was like, "Oh, that's a lot of work." My uncle was right. I gotta get like a person.
Right.
So now I have people helping out, but it's much easier. But
That's so cool.
yeah,
It's interesting seeing the mentorship take place in your life at such a young age. Being in business for 20 years, what does that still mean to you? Are you still in mentorship? Do you still seek advice and counsel in all of these things that you do?
I try to mentor other people now.
Oh, okay.
I try to mentor kind of like the people under me. I try to create an environment in my company where people are excited to come to work.
Okay.
And people can learn and grow. So the thing that we do is, and I don't know if it's like a hindrance or a positive, but we don't really hire outside management.
Okay.
We only promote from within. So all my management team have been with me for 10, 15 years.
Oh, wow.
I actually moved my whole management team from Brooklyn to Jersey when COVID happened.
Okay.
Because, we were in the city, so everyone took the train. You're not taking the train to Jersey from Brooklyn. So I helped people get houses, and they love it. I mean, people love being in Jersey. Because, the reason I originally wanted to move to Jersey, because I had, I have 3 daughters.
Yeah.
And at that time, I only had 1. And I was outside with her one day and, walking on the sidewalk holding her hand. And she always wanted to run off and play. And I was like, no, you can't.
Right.
Because in Brooklyn, you're always holding your child's hand.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and I was just walking there with her, and I was like, this is crazy. My child has never been outside where she has walked without holding my hand. I was like, that's not normal. That's not how children should grow up.
Wow.
And I came home that day, and I was like, we're getting out of here. I'm like, we can't do this. I can't live like this. I'm like, we can't live in this. Yeah, the food's good. Like, all our friends are here.
Right.
I was like, but I need my child to be able to run around.
Yeah.
and we kind of went the complete other craziness.
Yeah.
We came here, we got a big house with a big farm, and we just started acquiring animals.
Yeah.
And I never grew up. I grew
This
up
guy's
with
got
no
a zoo at his
animals.
house.
Yeah,
I mean,
he was
we
telling me.
basically have all types. So we got chickens first, then we got goats, and then we got donkeys and mini horses, and yeah, it's craziness now.
Yeah.
What do you think, Alex, that was in 1990, I'll say 3, going into 4, before we got that nice air conditioner.
Yeah.
Right? When you're 93, if little Alex walked into your house, looked around, and saw what you've accomplished, what do you think he would say to you?
I mean, I think it's unbelievable. I think to myself now.
Yeah.
I talk to the big Alex now, and I'm
Yeah.
like, I can't believe we are where we are today.
Right.
It's just unbelievable to sometimes sit down and reflect. Like, I just flew back from Europe.
Yeah.
And I ended up going to Europe with just my 2 younger kids, because my wife had an expired passport with my child, and they got shipped back. So I ended up staying with just my 2 kids, and we ended
I'm
up
sure
just
she was
traveling.
really happy about that, by the way.
She was. I mean, she basically got a vacation out of it on her own here.
Yeah.
And I got a vacation with my 2 younger daughters, which I
Yeah.
would never just go with my 2 younger daughters
Yeah.
on my own, but
Right.
the situation. And we kind of traveled throughout Europe. We went to the lakes in Italy. I met up with my business partner in Italy, and then I met up with some other friends when we went to Provence in France. And I was just traveling around, and I don't pre-book things. So I'm like a weird traveler where
Yeah.
I don't actually plan ahead.
Yeah.
Right.
I just buy a ticket there, and then I figure it out once I land.
That
And
makes sense to me, by the
And
way.
everyone thinks I'm crazy because they're like, "What do you mean? You don't have a return ticket? You don't have hotels planned for the whole time?"
You're giving JP anxiety right now.
Me, no, I'm kind of the same way.
I feel like you're so planned, dude.
I have a direction. I feel too much of an obligation if I book something to show up. So I like to have a direction
Right.
and just be lenient because we never know what's going to happen on a journey. You never want to plan a journey like that.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
Vacation is something that you get to experience.
Right.
And if you're tied to an itinerary, I feel like you don't enjoy anything and you come back more tired than
See, my wife is the complete
come
opposite
back.
of us. I love what you just said. My wife
Yeah.
would have 10 heart attacks.
Yeah, no.
What do you mean? We're not going to go get a tour on a tour bus at 5 o'clock here?
Yeah.
Like, whoa. But anyway, so that's so cool you got to experience that with your daughters, though.
Yeah. So we got to travel around, and I go to Europe every summer. I
Yeah.
love it.
What's
But
your favorite part?
I mean, I love Italy. I love Tuscany. My wife loves France, so we're like always, traveling between Italy and France.
Yeah.
But it's amazing to see the difference in culture, and our culture here is very different from the European culture.
Right.
They're very
Yeah.
much more relaxed. There's no like hustle and bustle like we have here. Everyone's rushing to work and trying to, you come in and from 1 to 4 everything is closed, and you're like, well, what do you mean? That's like peak go time.
We're going.
Yeah,
What do you mean?
yeah.
And you're like, no, monsieur, we're closed. What do you mean? It's nap time. It's siesta.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah, it's nap time. So they're chilling. They
Wow.
open from 10 to 1, and then they do the 5 to 7, and from 1 to 5 they're just closed.
Wow.
And I was like, wow, that would never fly in the U.S. You
No.
know.
Yeah.
But over there, it's just standard, and you get used to it. So you go do your own thing from 1 to 5 because all the stores are closed, the restaurants are closed, like it's just dead.
Right.
People are actually like just relaxing. So on one hand, it's great, but that doesn't build wealth as well as we have.
Yeah.
So when you come here and you see what is produced in this country
Right.
in the very short period of time that we've been a superpower.
Yeah.
Because it's been
Right.
less than 100 years, right?
Right.
Yeah, we
If
just
you think about it, I mean,
yeah.
we're 250 years old as a nation.
Yep.
Come on
But
now.
we've only been in power for, I'd say, since after World War II,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because
Right.
before that, we weren't the world power.
By the way, so JP's a Marine veteran.
Okay.
So loves
Yeah.
that
Thank you.
too.
Thank you for your
yeah.
service.
Very welcome.
Loves it too.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
Alex loves history and he loves, the
Yeah.
country and giving back to veterans and stuff. He's
Yeah,
very, very
yeah.
big in that. And so diving into that, so I met you actually through a veteran,
Yes.
Mike. Shout out to Mike. And it's funny because Mike said to me, he was like, yo, like, you got to meet Alex and Max. These two do so much for the community. They do so much for veterans. They have a Swipes for Stripes program where, like, if you
awesome.
swipe, it gets donated to the veterans. And I thought that was incredible. But it's funny the way it's interesting how people explain other people. And Mike was like, all right, you got to meet this guy. Because Max was a very short introduction. Max, great guy, sweetest guy, great dude, anything for you. He's like, but Alex, oh my God. He goes, Alex is like, he's got this vault. And then you're going to walk in, you're going to see, so he collects historical artifacts.
Oh, interesting.
And like crazy, like, stuff you're like, how the hell did you get this shit? Like, and he's explaining this to me. I'm like, all right. And he's like, well, we got to set something up. And we want to, go in there. And so you built this in this building. He bought a building in Homedale. Okay. They used to be a bank, right?
Yeah.
And it's a big, beautiful building. And anyway, he's doing some cool shit to it. But he built a vault. Mm-hmm. So there's this. How heavy is that damn door?
Oh my God, it was a pain in the ass to get it upstairs.
I can only imagine.
Because I was like, whatever, 2,000 pounds. I was like, you get 10 guys.
Wow, 10.
Yeah.
I was like, I could lift 200 pounds.
Right.
Right,
you get 10 dudes.
We couldn't even get it off the floor.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So then we had to build like a whole ramp system to get it upstairs.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was a disaster. It took us 4 weeks to get it upstairs.
Wow.
But when you see this office in this room, you walk in, the vault and the door, it just feels so heavy. And you walk in, and you got Jack Nicklaus on the wall smoking the cigar and puffing a Jordan. It's all black. Anyway, it's really cool. But the whole office and like what you said about your culture is like you walk in there, and I think there's a couple hundred people in there that are working, that are enjoying themselves, that are getting their job done. You walk in, you see like a wall with all these employees being recognized and stuff, like you shared. Yeah. And it's a really cool culture, right? And I think at the end of the day, it's like seeing what you're building at Slice and how you're doing it. I think more people need to know, right? Because that's why when Mike was like, you got to go see him, I was like, I never heard of Slice. And I walked in and I met you, and I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
People got to know about this guy. And I know obviously you have over 40,000+ clients.
Yeah.
But I think people need to understand, I think like I said, when I walk past, I'm like, dude, this place is like a secret Disney, like for work.
Yeah. I mean, I think from like, we try to go above and beyond for the employees, right?
Right.
Because I was an employee. So one of the reasons I wanted to be a businessman is to treat employees better. Because people that work hard shouldn't be fired because they work too hard.
No,
they should get promoted, right?
Yeah.
They should get recognized. And that's kind of the kind of culture that we want to have. We want to have people get recognized for their successes. Right. That's why we do Employee of the Month. Mm-hmm. At the end of every month, we recognize one back office employee or one sales employee. They get a parking spot. We make a donation to a charity of their choice. And they get their picture on the wall. Yeah. And I think the little things are what kind of creates the culture. It's not just the big things. It's the little things. It's doing the parties for them. Yeah. It's, just letting them do what they want to do.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, intentionality is a big thing that doesn't cost a lot.
Correct.
And we were talking off camera about what you heard on a podcast the other day, how all failures are similar. And I'm pretty sure that quote-unquote failure you had getting fired by your manager is playing a big part in how you treat your employees.
Absolutely.
Tell me a little bit about that mindset. Like, you're saying failures are all very kind of similar, but successes are the thing that make
Well, yeah, I think in business, most people fail, right? I think they don't completely fail, but there are failures, right? No one comes in and it's like, okay, well, you're now worth $100 million off the start, right? So you start and you trip up, you fail, and then you eventually succeed once you learn what you're doing, right? That's what they say. An overnight success takes 10 years, right? Yeah. So,
a hell of a long time.
Yeah. So as you're failing, I feel like all the failures from all the people that I've ever met that are business owners is more or less the same. They didn't have the funds. They weren't capitalized. They didn't invest into the employees. They didn't hire enough employees. They didn't, expect the growth to happen. They weren't prepared for the growth. They didn't have systems. Whatever those are, but they're all common denominators. I think everyone has the same failures because there's only so many failures you can have.
Right.
But then the successes for business owners are all different because everyone succeeds in their own little way. When we first started, it was, we came up with a free terminal program. That was one of our successes.
Yep.
Then we came with the, free credit card processing where we removed the rates. That was our next success, right? And if you look at everyone's successes, they're all different.
Right.
But the failures are a common cause. That's why when you talk to another business owner, and you say, well, it was tough in the beginning. I didn't have money. They understand that because it was tough for them too.
Correct.
Right? I'm sure you didn't have people jumping at your feet throwing money at you, right?
No.
To get started. So, the beginning is rough for everyone, and it's rough in a very similar way because it's really hard to grow out.
Yeah.
But then once you pass, the first, second floor of the building and you already have an infrastructure built, now it's about your ingenuity to build the positive things. And that's why the successes are a little different. Like his successes are different from my successes.
Yeah.
That doesn't make us less or more successful. It's just different.
Yeah.
He did it in his own way. You did it in your own way. I do it in my own way, right?
Right.
And that's what I meant by that too.
And so what's your mindset?
I like that, by the way.
Yeah.
A lot. I like
What's
that a
your
lot.
mindset when you do fail? Because so many people tell themselves, like, I failed, it's my identity, I'm a failure, I'm never going to win. What happens in that moment? You, Alex, you have a failure. What's your
I'm
go-to?
excited.
You're excited?
I'll tell you why.
Awesome.
I think most people fail in business because they're afraid to fail. So like I even talk to my employees and managers all the time, and that's one of my biggest pet peeves. He's like, but I didn't fail. I was like, yeah, because you didn't try. So, and they're always, people are afraid to fail. But in business, if you don't fail, you will never succeed. The problem that people don't understand is you have to try 10 projects, out of which 8 or 9 will fail. And that's normal. They have to fail.
Right.
Because until you figure out what a success is, you can't, and that success, that 1 out of 10 success, is what changes your business entirely.
Yeah.
But if you don't try new things, like even in sales, right? We do a lot of sales. We do about 1,000 plus deals a month. Just 1,000 new customers we sign up a month. But if we don't try new forms of marketing and we don't try new forms of approaches and release new products, and they say, but this product might fail. Great. Then I'll
we learned.
understand why it failed.
Yeah.
I'll learn from that, and I'll create another product that then will eventually succeed.
Right.
People are like, well, we went 1 for 5. Yeah, that's great. We lost $100,000 on each project. We did 5 projects, so we lost $400,000 on the 4 projects. But the one that was successful made us $8 million.
Wow.
So okay, I'll take those odds every time. But if you're going to be afraid to fail, well, then you don't get to try new things.
Yeah.
Even with technology, like we started using a lot of AI, and we burn a lot of tokens. Like my team probably burns $20,000, $30,000 a week.
Wow.
In just testing,
Wow.
in just tokens
Right.
on Claude. And people are like, wait, you're just burning money. No, I'm not burning money. I'm learning
To learn budget.
how to do it. I call it a burn budget. I mean, and if you don't have a burn budget, you will never be successful.
True.
Yeah, well.
If you don't have money that you're just, let's light this on fire and figure out how to use some knowledge from this, you will never be successful. So what I said to you is, I love to fail because at least I know I'm trying.
Yeah.
It's when there's no failures and nothing is happening, that's when you should sell your business.
That's really good. Yeah, numbers guide to the end, right?
Dude, honestly.
Yeah.
And you know what's funny, though? So I think about in 2017, 2018, like that was the period of adapting social where the business didn't need me as much. Like I built my leadership infrastructure out. I built my team out the right way. And less would I be needed in things. I'm like I can't sit still. Like I want to be involved. I want to know what's going on with these accounts. I want to know what's going on with our team, our growth, everything. And so in 2017, 2018, I was like, you know what? I'm doing too much. I should let my leadership team just do more and give them the power. And I gave myself a 2-month period. I go, for 2 months, I'm going to almost look like a chairman. I'm going to come in. I'm going to just listen, right? Because that's actually, so for me, what I love and respect about you and you is that you both are very good listeners. That's not natural to me, right? Like, I talk too much, right? And so for me, it's been like a journey, shut up. You have 2 ears, 1 mouth for a reason. and so anyway, so for 2 months, I just sat there and I just listened and I just let them do their thing. And I was so depressed. That was like the most depressed 2 months ever because I was like, damn, I don't feel needed. And the company was still doing good. We were still moving forward. And I think what I realized, because I started my business young like you. Like I was like 17 when I started. And this like doing business and like my clients and stuff like that, like it's always just been all I know. So like for a minute thinking like I don't need to do this stuff every day was like a real gut punch.
Yep.
And I think, but you really categorized it so well. Like it's like being in an elevator in a building. When you're in the first floor, not even in the elevator bay yet, failure seems daunting, scary, terrifying. And I think Tony Robbins says it best because, like, what does failure really mean? It just means lack of love and respect from your peers, right? So you fear that. Like, shit, Alex is a failure. Like, and everyone thinks that. Because if nobody, like, I think part of why, like, I am successful, like, growing up in school, I had all these learning disabilities. So I never gave a fuck because I was like, I always thought in school, I was like, I'm stupid. Like, so it doesn't matter anyway. People think about me because they already think I'm stupid. I was in, like, these classes where, like, I didn't have to take SATs, all this other stuff. I had an 8 in the classroom with me, all this shit. So growing up, I was like, I don't learn the same way as everybody else. So, like, like, I thought of myself academically stupid. And so that, you know, God bless me with that, because when I was starting business and I was, like, bumping into all these guardrails, I was like, who fucking cares? Like, you know, whatever, right? Like, and I remember seeing a couple people that would be like, oh, you started a business? Really? Like, you? And, you know, so anyway, my point is, like, at level 1, most people are really, like, cognizant of their peers' opinions and their family's opinions.
Yeah, well, it's also harder when you're on level 1 because you're always going all in. So because you're trying to build the foundation. So you know, right now when I do a project, it's a very small piece of my total capital.
True.
Right.
Right.
When I was back then doing any project,
it was everything.
It was 100% of my capital. So it's very scary to fail because you're going all in with all your chips every time.
Right.
You know, now I have a big chip stack, so I can throw some chips into different projects.
Test.
There, I had one chip, and I would just push the chip all in every time. So, you know, when you fail, you now have to go get a new chip.
Right.
Yeah.
But where I almost disagree a little bit, right? Because I think some people, like, I have 2 clients right now that I'm working with that they're putting their chips in money-wise, but, like, they're starting a business that they don't want anyone to know that they have yet. They're waiting for it to be successful first. And I think a part of your chips being in, too, is people knowing that you're all in, right? Especially now with social media and stuff, like, people being like, yo, you know, oh, JP's on this podcast now, right? Like, if he was hidden behind the scenes and it wasn't like, yo, I'm out there doing this podcast now, he's not putting enough skin in the game. But there's a lot of people, I think, on level 1 that I think money probably put a lot of it in, but I think a lot of them are fearful of failure, like you were saying. But my whole point of your elevator analogy is that, like, when you get to level 2, you start to understand how the mechanics work. Level 3, right, like this imaginary level system, is like, you know, it's like, damn, like, you know, failing is good, right? Like, failing is, because I think a lot of successful people I talk to, it's like what you said and what I believe, right, too, we share that reality, is fucked up in the head.
Yes.
Because most logical people would say, they learned and grew up in a household saying, feedback, failure, it's not good. You get in trouble for that.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
So you're programmed to think that way. But as you grow up this elevator, right, and you're in these new, you know, these new floors, you're starting to realize that everything you were told about how the world works in business and just generally is not accurate.
Well, I think we're not taught about business, right?
Right.
Unless you grew up in a family that did business and you know, you grew up that way. Like, I grew up in a family where, you know, I was the black sheep for doing business.
Right.
Because there was like a very negative connotation to
Yeah.
it, right? So to me, it was, you know, like, you know, business is a very shady situation in general. That's how I grew up. And only as I learned more about it did I realize that, well, it's not exactly that. There are some shady people, but you don't have to be shady to be successful.
Right.
You know, and I think that's one of the first things I learned is you don't have to be shady.
True.
You know, most people think you have to do like weird, underhanded things,
Right.
which is not true. You
Right.
can, you know, I guess I'm like the exact example of building a business without screwing anyone over, without doing anything shady, just nice, clean, all my employees are happy, you know.
Yeah.
And it's rare because I think most people don't treat their employees properly. And I think one of the things that you said, it's like me teaching my managers that failing is okay has probably been the hardest challenge that I've had.
Yeah.
I just can't do it because it's really hard to break them, you know, because they're just naturally ingrained, like you said.
Right.
Failure is bad. And most people look at not doing something and not failing as a win when it's the biggest loss.
Yeah.
You know, and it's
Too
really
safe.
it's really hard to teach people to take chances. Like so like you said, like people always ask me, even my own employees always ask me, why are you still here, Alex? You're like good. You should just retire.
Go on the farm with the chickens
Yeah,
and
go in the
donkeys.
farm, go relax at the pool. Like, why do you come here in the morning
Yeah.
and stay late? And I'm the last guy out of the office. Like, why? You already have enough money to retire. And it's true. I do. But the difference is that if I don't ever come to the office again, the place will run. Like, I just went
Right.
through 3 weeks to Europe. Nothing changed. But one thing will change. There will not be any innovation. There will not be any growth.
Right.
Yeah.
The maintenance, everyone's got the maintenance on lock. But to try new things and to force people to do new ventures and to try, like we open new channels all the time to
Right.
do new channels of this or that, no one is ever willing to take the risk.
Right.
They're afraid that they're going to get yelled at for failing.
Right.
And I always try to explain to them, like, I'm going to yell at you for not trying. I applaud when you try and fail.
Right.
They're like, but I'm wasting your money. I'm like, but it's not your money. Why do you care? Well,
Right.
we're afraid to spend your money. But I give you authorization. Here's a signature. I said, this is good. So go spend my money. If you fail, that's okay. I'll take the responsibility for it.
Right.
And still, you can't teach people to do that.
Yeah.
Unless you do it yourself, because people look at it like, well, it's not my money, it's Alex's money,
Right.
John's money. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I don't want to spend Alex's money because it's his decision to spend his money.
Right.
And
See,
I
but
kind of
Rob's always
get,
trying to spend my money.
and I kind of get it,
Jeez.
and I kind of get it.
Yeah.
It's tough for you to decide to spend someone else's money. It's like if you go out to a restaurant and someone else is paying, you're not going to be the one ordering the 14 appetizers, right? When I go and I order 12 appetizers and 14 entrees, and that's just me and John.
Yep.
You know,
Literally.
because I feel comfortable
Literally.
because it's my money. Or if he orders and he
Yeah.
spends, it's.
Right.
But to teach other people to do that, that has been probably one of the hardest things for me, and I still can't get over that hump.
Do you know what I learned? So in that 2-month period, I sat there, and at that time period, my wife and I were having trouble having children. So everything in my life at that moment was about like child analogies and like that difficulty. And I remember sitting there, and the only thing, so you just like gave me a clarity, because like in that moment, like I was like, things were going okay, but the vision changed, right? The visionary wasn't in the seat. Like I let them just kind of do the thing, but maintenance was on lock. And then I sat there, and I'm at this one meeting. We were at a fertility doctor at the time. I'm sitting there, we're having a conversation, and I'm like, and he says something. He goes, did you know that I think 70 to 80% of people who get abused by or children or household that have child abuse in it are households that have a step parent in it. It's the highest percentage. When there's not your
I
parents
heard
are, okay, and I sat there, we're having the conversation, and I go to him, why do you think that is? He said, because it's not their kid.
Yeah,
And business is the same thing. You
Yeah.
birthed that kid.
that's an
So
point.
right. So and I got the chills again because I sat
Gave
there.
me chills.
Yeah,
Wow.
I got the chills because I sat there and go. I came back from that 2-month, being the chairman, and I was like, damn. I was like, things were going okay. I'm like, but why aren't we doing this? Why aren't we doing whatever? And like, they just didn't see it. They were like, well, we're keeping everything, and I'm like, it's not their child.
Exactly.
So there only one person is going to care about that child the same way that you will, and that's you.
Yeah.
There's nobody else. It's your child. And that's also why most businesses that get acquired go under,
That's true.
because they're mismanaging. It's not their child. And so I think in that moment, that doctor blessed me, and then you just gave me clarity, because I was like, what am I missing out of this? Like, I was like, because I should come back and be happy because everything was kind of still going. But something felt off, and then you just gave me that clarity. So thank you. But I think that's the thing. So at the end of the day, with businesses, a lot of people, we live in a world where people, are out there on Instagram, social media, and they look like they're Don John, right? They look like they're driving a Lamborghini or they're doing these crazy things, and like they're really not that successful, right? But they're really like they're trying to keep up with the Joneses,
Yep.
and they're really cash poor,
Yep.
and they're liability heavy,
Yep.
but it's these people are influencing, right, this
Other
younger
people.
generation,
Yeah.
and even older to say, well, damn, why don't I have that Lamborghini, or why am I not doing that stuff? That guy's so successful. And I think the way that we view success has changed, right? Because we just think that if you're doing these things and you have a big social media following, or you're doing this stuff, you're successful. But the thing that I respect and why I love this podcast over the years and 8 years doing this is that, like, when I've met people like yourself, it's like, if somebody walked in a room, they would never think that you have what you have and you built what you've built, because you're very humble, right? Like, you know, you're driving a 6 Cybertruck, right? But you could have 25 Cybertrucks, or you could do whatever you want to do, right? But you don't. You choose to operate that way. And when I was in Marco Island, we were in Naples and Marco Island, my family, and we were at the bar, and this guy at Marco Island, he's like, "Oh, where you guys staying?" And I was like, "Oh, we came to Marco Island and stuff." And I was like, my family's in Naples, so we bounced back. And he said, he goes, Naples is where people pretend to be rich. And he goes, Marco Island is where people have wealth, right? Because you're out there, you see Ferraris, and everyone's pulling up to restaurants and all these cars. And he's like, dude, he goes, those people are always struggling. He goes, the repo trucks are out here all the time. Yeah. He's like, but in Marco, people are driving Hondas, and these people are silently very wealthy.
Yeah.
And that's why I feel so blessed and grateful to grow up in a generation where I saw blue collar hard work that created wealth from people that, like, again, like, I think the best analogy is like their fingernails were dirty from scraping, because they were really trying to build something, versus the world we live in. But anyway, I say that to say, number one, I think out of doing this interview, like, I'm not going to give you a choice. We have to do a podcast for you. Because you're just dude, you have such a wealth of knowledge. And I think that part of what we're doing at Slice now with the brand building stuff, like, if people knew just an ounce of the stuff that you know, they would want to work with you. It's a no-brainer. So we'll talk about that later. But anyway, with that all said, tell us real quick a little bit about Slice. And, like, you talked about the free terminal and this other stuff. But for a business owner that's out there that's listening to this, that's like, oh, yeah, payment processing, everybody does the same thing, right? Like, why should they consider calling Slice? Because obviously you're national, so, like, anybody listening anywhere could.
Correct, yeah. So, I mean, I think one of the biggest changes that we've had is, when COVID came around, kind of like outside sales kind of stopped, right? So people stopped working. So we shifted gears and we went more towards a technology route.
Right.
So we started building technology, we started building systems, and that's one of the big things that we've built over the years.
Right.
So now that, we have a local presence, right, in New Jersey. And one of the things we do is, I think most people don't understand that processing is not just about, swiping the credit card on the machine.
Right.
It's about the initial setup of that machine, of that point of sale system, of that equipment. So anybody can ship you a machine to your business and then say, good luck, go set it up.
Right.
What we actually do is we actually have local technicians that get into a Slice car with a Slice Polo, and they come and they do the white glove service for you. So they come, they set up your menus, they set up this, they set up that. We set up, people want menu boards, or people want QR codes, or people want to integrate all the printers into one thing. People want to integrate their Uber Eats and their Grubhub and everything into one system, so they don't have, the 6 iPads when you walk into a restaurant.
Right.
People want a website, and we as a company kind of put it all together. We take all that technology, and anywhere where you can have the ability to make a payment, whether it's pay at the table through a QR code, pay on a website, pay on a POS system, right? We kind of set all that up.
Right.
And now we're building a system called Slice 360 where we're adding voice agents. So, one of the things I saw in Europe that was really missing is, you call a restaurant. I'm in France. I don't speak French. And I'm trying to make a reservation. There's no one to talk to. From 1 to 5, no one picks up the phone.
Right.
The rest of the time, they pick up in French. They don't speak English.
They don't like Americans, by the way.
They don't like Americans. So, how do you fix that? Even here, you see that here. You call a restaurant, they don't pick up. So, what have we created? We've created voice agents, right? That you call the restaurant, you have a pizzeria. You have the girls picking up the phone. The orders are coming in. You're staffing the 2 girls all the time. It's tough, man. It's tough for that pizza guy, for the guy that's, for the restaurateur, because he has to staff all these people. And I think that the way that the technology is changing nowadays, with the use of AI and everything else, is you can just have an automated agent that kind of takes all your calls. It knows everything about your business. It's always pleasant. It picks up 24/7. It makes the reservation for you. It can take orders. It can do all the stuff, whereas you're getting rid of some of the human capital that you're paying so much money to. So I think one of the things that, Slice has become, where we started as just a processing company, we're basically becoming more and more just a technology company. as we're building out more and more things in technology, I mean, I think that's where we as a company are going in general.
Yeah, that vision is really solid, and again, it just shows you being innovative in your field. Me, so like, which I'm in the process of working with your team to switch over, so like I can build my full system. What I love personally is that, like, I told you guys the pain points that I had because the company I inherited or you started using got acquired, and then we just were stuck with the software.
Yep.
Or else we essentially got golden handcuffed to this software acquisition. And I think one of the things though too, I think you're a technology company, but I also think that you're a customer service company too.
We're definitely big on service.
Because I think like when you think about you ever hear about Tony Heisch with oh my goodness, what the hell's the name of that company? My goodness, the name of the book was called Delivering Happiness, and he started that shoe company that Jeff Bezos acquired, like Zappos. Thank you. No, yes, no, not Zappos. It's gonna come to me. It might be Zappos, but I read the book like 5-6 years ago. But anyway, Jeff Bezos carbon copied his customer service model. So Tony Heisch created this shoe company. Can somebody look it up? Look up who Amazon acquired for like the shoe company, Tony H. Because I don't know how to spell his last name. But so anyway, he created this book called Delivering Happiness, and his customer service team was so insane. Again, this is before Amazon thought this way. So, Zappos. Oh, there's Zappos. Okay, thank you. So when he created Zappos, he was like, I don't want to just be a shoe company. I want to be the number one customer service company on the planet. And who says that now? Jeff Bezos has been saying it for 20 years now.
Yep.
But so he had it to the point where he encouraged the general public at large. He goes, if you're having a bad day, you need somebody to talk to, just call us. Right? So his customer service team was fielding depression calls, suicidal calls, even to the point where he goes, I think the biggest compliment we got is somebody called us and asked us to book a reservation for them. And we did it. He goes, we did it, right? But people continued to buy shoes, and they eventually got acquired for multi-billions of dollars because they put the customer first,
Correct.
Right? And I think when I think about Slice, I think that's what I think about, right? Is that like you have that those people that are going to pick up the phone.
Yeah.
Because I've experienced for 18 years in business the complete headaches and being just a number at these other processing companies that I've used, and I've worked with one that's like a big bank.
Yep.
And if something went wrong, or if I didn't get a deposit, or I should have got a deposit, or I'm like, what's going on here? I'm waiting forever to get an answer. And again, the biggest thing for me, like, and I think probably some people that are business owners can relate to this, is I remember there was one time, so in 2017, 2018, we like all at once lost a lot of clients. And we were in a very bad cash position. Mm-hmm. And I'm self-funded. So I never had like, I'm going to a bank and whatever. Yep. So fast forward, I was expecting this next, because we get, obviously, how batch payments come in. So I'm supposed to get this batch payment to come in, and it didn't come in right away. And I forget why or what happened. But long story short, the day after it was supposed to come in was supposed to be payroll. So I needed that money to fulfill payroll.
Makes sense.
Right? So now I'm on the phone, I'm calling, nobody's getting back to me right away. There's no urgency, right? So I'm like, what the fuck's going on here, right? And I've never ever been through that at this point. So like I was like, holy shit, like my people need to be paid. Like I need to. So I'm freaking out. I'm calling everybody. Nobody's answering me. And anyway, it got figured out, and I had to dip into my own personal money to make payroll, right? And because I was not going to let my team not get paid, they come first. So I dipped into my own money, right? And I remember like feeling like, damn, if I'm in a bad position like that, you're not going to be there for me.
Yep.
Right? Because you have too many people to worry about.
Well, they also outsource.
Correct.
I think most of these large processing companies, they outsource all their customer support. They either outsource it to the bank, who then outsources it to the Philippines or India.
Right.
Or they outsource direct to India or the Philippines.
Right.
Which, again, I don't want to sound holier than thou, but, I tried it myself.
Yeah.
And the experience was terrible.
Right.
Right. I had a call center in India, and I had a call center in the Philippines. And, people were complaining, man. I mean, the customers were complaining. I started calling in myself because I like to, pretending to be a merchant. And I'll be honest with you, I get it. The experience wasn't great.
Right.
They don't get the American culture. They don't get, how people speak.
Right.
And you can tell right away that you're not talking to an American.
Right.
But it is $5 an hour. So, that outweighs the result for most people.
Right.
I think we're one of the only companies in the country that actually do our own support the way we do it.
Right.
We're definitely the only company in the country that does face-to-face installations.
Right.
Where we actually go and we do the white glove installation. We'll run the wire for you and mount it and connect connect the Wi-Fi for you and do the whole thing. But also all our customer service and tech support is in the U.S. As you saw, it's all in Jersey.
Yep.
Local. Does it cost more? Yeah. But in reality, once you start actually doing the math, it's actually kind of the same. Because, the person here gets paid 25, whereas the person over there gets paid 5, and you'd think, well, they're doing the same job. How could it be the same? The American person can handle a lot more phone calls. Because his phone calls end in a resolution. Versus the guy in the Philippines, he's just taking information and someone else has to go do the actual job.
It's a pass along.
The actual guy calls back 3 or 4 times because his problem isn't actually getting resolved in the Philippines. So now where this guy can actually take the call and resolve the problem right away, it kind of ends up costing you the same. But then you actually have happy customers. So that's what I've learned.
Yeah. Actually, I think that makes a lot of sense. And what I like about that, and which is interesting, is so when I bought my house 3 years ago through J.P. Morgan Chase, right? I'm a Chase private client.
Yeah.
Now, being a private client is my first time getting a mortgage with Chase. I've done other banks and stuff. So, and this was for me my biggest purchase. So, I'm sitting here, and it's our title guy, and a Filipino, I guess, banker, right, from the Philippines, closing this transaction for me. Virtually. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, that's crazy, right? But to your point, right, like, and another point is like certain like customer service facing industries that have so many employees, like I guess JP Morgan Chase, like they're going that route, right? And I find it frustrating because when we had issues, right, I'm only talking to a note taker.
Correct.
I'm not talking to a solution-oriented person that can give me answers. So I agree with you on that, and that's very interesting. But that's crazy. That's the world that we're living in. And also, what's going to happen in 10 years when AI does all this?
I'll tell you. So, like for example, you mentioned that we came in and you had the golden handcuffs with a company, right, because of their POS system or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's the reality that we've been living in. The reality is, you have companies like Toast and Square who spent, hundreds of millions of dollars building their POS system.
Yep.
Which now with AI, it kind of becomes irrelevant in a way if you think about it. Because where it cost $400 million to build now, it costs $1 million to build it today.
True.
For the same system. So I think the future of what we're building is like kind of what we're doing for you is, you need a POS system, you need a system, we'll just build you a custom one.
Right.
Because AI can build it for us.
True.
Quickly. That was never a possibility. That concept is a crazy concept because before it would cost $200,000 and take 2 years, and now you can do it for $1,000 and in 3 days.
It's crazy.
So I mean, it changes the world. You can come to a restaurant and say, hey, you guys have a group of restaurants at 3 restaurants. What do you like? What do you want to have in your system? And you can build a custom system just for that restaurant group that works only for them. They want the buttons. They have special hot pizza that they want the button to be on the left. Well, no one's building anyone a custom POS system. I mean, that's crazy. People go out of business if they did that.
Right.
But now with technology, we're actually able to facilitate that. And within a very quick period of time.
Well, I think that's a major benefit, right? That you're willing to do that, right? Like
Correct.
if I called Square, if I called one of these places like Toast and said, hey, I need you to build me a custom. It's almost like that Verizon commercial where they walk into the car dealership. He goes, I want you to give me this for half off, whatever he says. And the guy's like, we don't do that. He's like, I guess you're not like Verizon. But it's like, that's, I think, the unique advantage that you guys have is that you're willing to do that. And as a business owner, like, anybody listening, like when you have how you accept money, if it's custom to you, because what I spoke to your team about was like, being a tech company, our tech stack is in so many different directions. Like we have so much software that we use in different directions that we're leveraging AI to try to mitigate and create our own now.
Yeah.
But when you think about it, it's like there's so much technology, and it's like I just want to go to one place. I want to know how much I make. I want to know how much do we lose. I want to know how much is forecasted, and just like things that I think are simple.
Yep.
Right. Yeah. But customized to my business, how I want it.
Correct.
Where like if you're a bagel shop, right, and you want to know inventory or whatever, like I'm sure there's things that could be done, but I think there's a really unique advantage because most businesses, which is back to the beginning of this podcast, which I respect about you, is you know your numbers so well. When I sit down with business owners for 18 years, I would say, and this is not even an exaggeration, probably 70 to like 75% of business owners couldn't tell me their numbers right now. Like in a random conversation, just like, hey, how's your numbers? Like what are you doing in revenue? What's your margin? What's this, what's that? They wouldn't know. And that's crazy to me, right?
Insane.
But if you have a system,
Correct.
right, where you accept money in and it gives you that information, right? Like that's a really valuable system
Correct.
for your business.
Correct.
Because now it's not just, it's a payment processing tool.
Correct.
It's an actual tool for you to understand under the hood of your business.
Correct.
Right? Because cash flow is the blood of every business.
Oh, of course.
If you don't have cash flow, you're not alive.
Yeah.
You know, so.
And it's also, we're I think the only company right now that has an app.
Right.
Like, I mean, I think it's insane that none of these other processing companies have an app that they give to their merchants. For them to have an app on their phone that they can see their transactions, their batches, you know, all the info that's happening, how many terminals they have, what terminals ran, what sales. Like, yes, there's portals that you can go to online. But think about it. If you're a business owner and you're on the beach and you want to check how your business is doing, you have multiple businesses, it's just so much more user-friendly to have it on an app and just to be able to click, click, an easy interface that, yes, technically you can log into your online portal, but it's cumbersome. It's not meant for an iPhone. And if you think about most business owners, a lot of people are doing business off their phone today.
True.
You know, they don't go and take out their laptop and log in. People want to be able to do stuff off their phone.
True.
So the fact that we have an app for them to use, and you know, you don't want people calling in and dealing with problems. You want them to go on an app, go to create a ticket, boom, create a case, it's done. You know, I need paper, which we actually provide free paper for all our clients. So that's
cool.
That's another
advantage.
Another big advantage that we have. But boom, just go on your app, you click I want free paper. The app already knows what kind of device you have. It already knows what store you want it for. You know, it just creates a better user experience overall.
I'll say this. Like, you guys have a unique perspective in talking about business and stuff like that. And, you know, me, the perspective of a customer, and for everybody listening, I think I've gained, like, I've known you for probably like a little under 2 hours. I've gained a new perspective and respect for you because I feel like the through line with your whole story, you know, from beginning to where you are now, it's the intentionality that you have. And they say business is a people business, right? You have to solve problems. But I think one of the unique problems you are solving is people wanting to be seen. And a lot of business owners don't see that. Like, oh, you need to do this faster. You need to do this better. You need to do this. Let me solve that problem. But a lot of people just want to be seen. And that white glove service that you have, and even the way you pour into your employees and mentorship, that has, you know, made me like, hey, listen, how can I join forces with you and get part of that? Like, I would love to do business with you. And so you said something that you don't have to be a businessman and you don't have to be successful and be greedy and do all of these things. So for business owners that feel like they've been bought into that mindset, like I have to make sure I make money and all this over everything else.
Or maybe they're jaded.
Yeah, correct.
From past experiences.
Yeah. What advice can you give those businessmen to change that mindset? Because I feel like the longevity of a person who does so much more for the client has a better, you know, longevity, not only for the business, but for their family and everything, peace of mind. Like, what advice can you give them?
I think people get very caught up in the short-term results, short-term failures, right? They fail and they boil in that failure, and they can't get over it mentally because they feel like they failed and now everything is going to be a failure, and they just create that negative mentality, and that just drags them down further and further and further. You know, I think if people look at it like, you know, like sports, you're not going to win every game. There's no perfect season. You're going to take some losses. Some teams do better, some teams do worse. If you're doing really bad, maybe it's time to rebuild the team a little bit. Maybe it's time to rebuild what you're doing. So I think that's part of the thing. Like, when you fail, don't sulk at it. Like, people sulk in the failure. And in business, you have to have a positive environment going into it every day. Like, I always tell my people, listen, you have personal problems, those leave at the door. You walk in, you put a smile on your face. We're here for business. We're here helping other people. You can't bring your own personal problems. Like, you know, they'll never see me come into the office angry because I got in an argument with my wife, you know, or someone kicked my dog. You know, like, I come in, I put a smile on my face because I look at the office like my battle zone. That's my battleground. I go to war. I tell my wife, she's like, what do you mean you go to war? I'm like, oh, I'm in war every day. I go to the office. That's my battleground, you know? And if you don't look at it like that, you don't come in and you put the armor on as you walk in and you're now ready to take artillery fire, you're going to have problems. You're going to have that negative mentality, and it's going to breed negativity. And negativity, I feel like, creates more negativity around you. So, you know, my big suggestion is have a positive energy. It's okay to fail. If you fail, just get up and try again. That's what makes you successful as a business person.
Is not giving up.
Not giving up.
Yeah.
That's so good.
That Rocky quote, the most recent movie where he's like, no, it's going to hit harder than life. I mean, it's true, right? Like, because we're talking about business, but also based on what you shared, I think I know the answer to this, but like, I'll share my perspective. Over the years, I've had plenty of conversations with people where people are like, hey, don't take it personal. It's just business, right? And I'm like, it's always been a mind fuck for me because I'm like, dude, business is my life. I do take it personally. Right? Like, so when people say like, hey, don't take it personal, right? It's business. I've always been like, I don't understand how you could think that way, right? And at the end of the day, I think life in general is tough. And, you know, when I can't, like, because I have children now, like, I keep thinking about you in that apartment, sweating your fucking, you know, your balls off, right? And when I think about my kids, like, and me being like, damn, like, I don't want, you know, Johnny or Vienna Vincenzo to be hot, right? Like, I'm trying to put myself in that position. And because I mean, I was in that position, you know, like, I was on food stamps and stuff growing up and stuff, so I understand like the tough parts of that, power going off and all those embarrassing things. And it's like, I remember, like, so I just think about that moment and I'm like, damn, like, it's so crazy to think that, like, when you're uncomfortable, that's the real secret to success. How good are you at being uncomfortable?
Correct.
That's the only, so like, because like every time like I'm like being interviewed or if I have a question or someone's like, oh, how'd you do this? And it's like, you know, because when I was younger, I used to Google when I was like 17, 18, how to be successful, how to be a millionaire, right? And then I'm looking up all these books, I'm looking up Tony Robbins, I'm looking at all these guys, I'm like, what's the secret, right? Give me the secret, right? And I think like when I really boil it down, right, it's just like, how good are you at being uncomfortable?
Correct.
Because that's what it is. When you're in the war room, right? When you're in the war room, and it's funny, I have the same analogy too with my wife. And when I'm in the war room, right, like I know every day that something's going to piss me off or something's not going to be the way I want it to be or, you know, or something's going to be really great followed by something else that's going to be challenging. And it's like at the end of the day, how good are you? And the benefits of being uncomfortable, right? Like, so like I got a sauna like a year ago. And I remember, you know, biohacking, blah, blah, blah. And I'm jumping in the sauna and I'm like super pumped. And then I'm sweating. And I'm like, damn, this sucks. Like, this is terrible. But apparently, right, it decreases all-cause mortality by over 40%.
Yeah.
By staying in that damn box. For
3 times a week.
Right. 3 times or 4 times a week for 20 minutes plus. And so for a year, like 5 days a week, I'm sitting there. And every time I'm in there, I've never been like, I love being in here. I'm always like, I want to get the fuck out of here. Like, this sucks. But like, if I want to live longer, I got to be uncomfortable. Right. So it's why it's like, I feel like God or whatever people believe in, like life it's almost backwards. The things you want to achieve, like you would think you want to be happy. So you have to do happy things to get happy, but you don't do happy things to get happy. You got to be miserable. You got to go through the valley to get happy.
Yeah. You got to swallow the frog sometimes.
Correct. Right.
You know,
so,
and it's interesting. Like, you know, like you said, when you have, you know, a poor upbringing, right? I have these like weird thoughts that I can never get rid of. Like every time I go to the store and I swipe my credit card,
Is it gonna go through?
I get a little bit excited when it gets approved.
I do too, actually. No
And
joke.
it's a weird.
I'm
It's
not
like
even
a
fucking kidding you,
weird
bro. I really do.
peasant mentality.
Yeah.
Because I remember growing up, and I remember sometimes going to the store, and my parents' credit card wouldn't get approved.
Wow.
So
Damn. You just hit me right in
and,
the feels
and they
there,
would
bro.
have to,
Damn.
and they would have to put some of the stuff back to go to a lower number.
Yep.
My kids don't understand that concept. They don't even know. My daughter called me a couple of weeks ago, and she goes, "Daddy, I think there's something broken at the store." I'm like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "Well, I went to the store and I put your card in, and it said declined, and I told them their machine's broken."
What's wrong with your machine?
She's like, "Something is wrong with their machine, Daddy. You should go talk to them. Their machine's not working." And I'm like, "No, babe, we had fraud on the card. We had to cancel the card and get a new one."
Oh, yeah.
She's like, I don't understand. But it didn't say approved that. It always says approved.
Right.
And I'm like, no, well, sometimes it's not approved.
Right.
Yeah.
She couldn't understand the concept of
Right.
that. She was like, but their machine was broken, right? And I'm like, no, it's your card that was broken.
Right.
And it was a very hard concept to understand for a 13-year-old. Like, she's
Right.
never experienced anything like that.
Yeah.
And for me, every time I swipe my credit card, I always have that little weird thought in the back of my head, like, "Oh my God, I hope it doesn't get declined."
Dude, you just unlocked some shit for me, because every time I honestly was literally at ShopRite this morning getting water bottles for the other office, and I'm swiping it, I'm sitting there, and I always have that like pause,
Yeah.
and it's like approved. I'm like, all right, like damn.
Right? And it's not like, and you already know that it's not going to get declined because you know what your balance is.
Right.
So it's just this crazy mentality of like, it's like kind of like, I guess, childhood trauma in a way that's just part of you now. My wife calls it peasant mentality.
I love the fact that you guys are just being so open about these things, because there's like such a big misconception. It's like once you make it to a certain level that you don't deal with any of these things, that you made it beyond that, and that your life is kind of like coasting and you're above things coming against you. And to share your vulnerability is something that really allows everyone else, hopefully especially watching it. It's like nothing ever really changes you unless you decide to change.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
100%.
Because you can have this mindset and accept it and just keep this state of mind that keeps you pretty much below ground and stunts your growth. But you have allowed the seed that was planted in you to get watered by your experiences and refuse to stay underneath the soil and grow. But that root is still in there, because when you swipe, that thing that's deep inside of you.
So you're like, yeah.
And so I love the vulnerability, and I hope that everybody watching hears this and really understands it, that no matter what happens to you, no matter how you grow up, you can overcome adversity, and these things may never leave you, but despite them never leaving you, can do so many things in this world that would not only change your life but change other people's lives. And so I love that little piece that you guys had together.
I really appreciate that. And I think so like I've had anxiety my whole life because of my family's turbulence in marriage and stuff growing up. But then I also found out, actually, my brother did a 23andMe or whatever, Ancestry.com. We found out that we had, probably Rob's not going to be surprised about this, but there's a lot of mental health through our lineage, right? They found that one of my great blah, blah, blahs was in this like psych ward or some crazy shit, right? So anyway, like when I think about it, it's like the mindset, going to the elevator again, right? The level 2+ mindset is like when I do have that pause and that feeling, or like mental health, like when you think about these things, it's interesting to like kind of like personify these things. So like when things are going wrong, right? Like most people, when they're feeling depressed or anxious and stuff, and we live in a world now where everybody's anxious. The kids are anxious that are like your daughter's age, like insane, it's crazy shit. And it's like when these things pop up, if you kind of personify and humanize it, like it becomes less scary, right? So like, for instance, like that swipe, because like we're having this conversation, I'm like, oh, I'm re-changing the way that my brain's going to process that moving forward. So now every time I swipe, like I'm typically like, it's like, you're clenching your stomach, like, is it going to go through? And it's like that uncomfortable feeling, then that misfortune like made me a fortune, right? So that's a good thing that I felt that, right? I'm happy that thing came back, because that's reminding me. And also that was a launch pad, right? And I think, when it comes to mental health, what you were just sharing resonates. I know a lot of people, we live in this like era now where everyone's anxious and depressed. And it's because I think a lot of people look at what we're saying, fear of failure, lack of being loved by their peers, or, whatever, not accomplishing things they want to accomplish. And it all roots to how you talk to yourself. And like when I talk to you, I don't know what your mindset was when you were younger, and you too, JP, because obviously you've had a big journey too, coming out of the military. But like when I think about, having a rock solid mindset, right? Like you have to really build that foundation to how you operate, right? Like you have to be good between your ears before you could be good for anybody else, right? And I feel like at the end of the day, it's like hearing those things and personifying them, like when you're feeling like, oh, damn, I'm failing, like, what's going to happen? Everything's going to go awry. That's an opportunity, right? Versus it being a bad thing. So I just think people changing their mindset to, and you have to, because like I'm sure you didn't always believe it, and you too, right? Like when I went to a Tony Robbins event when I was way younger, he said when you're growing and you're building yourself and you're developing yourself, you're going to feel like you're lying to yourself, because you are, because you don't want to get out of bed to go do that workout, or you don't want to go, to that extra meeting, or you don't want to stay later in the office. Yep. You're going to lie to yourself because you feel like you're a failure. But in order to get out of that mindset, you have to keep pushing. You have to be okay with being uncomfortable. Yeah. And I just think for this podcast, there's so much golden nuggets that came out of it that I think for people that are listening, and I've had conversations, like you said, you mentor people. I've had a lot of conversations with young kids. I've had conversations with people in their 60s and 70s that own businesses. And it's really interesting that you said that failures are very similar, right? I think they come down the same funnel, right? But I think the mindset that gets you out of that and you controlling that, like you talked about prayer for you, like you could pray or, meditate and do these things, for almost an hour or whatever you do. For me, my mind's so busy. I'm always like, when I try to meditate, I could meditate probably for a couple minutes without like having to like, damn, like I need to move, or like I'm thinking too much. But I think people that are listening to this, I think the bottom line is somebody who came from a different country that came with no money, right? Nothing was handed to you. And in corporate America got told that he needed to stop performing because he was doing so well, and eventually led to his firing because you're doing so well. Yeah. That then led you to build a super, super successful company that gives back to the community, that gives back to veterans, that does so much, right? And it's a living organism, right? Like it's doing things, it's actively out there when you're not. So I just think when you look at that, I want people to understand that like it's not about starting successful, right? Like you came from nothing, right? And you had the right people around you, the right uncomfortability around you, and you built something from it.
I also think a big part of my success is being in the right country. I think people don't talk about that enough, but I love this fucking country.
Yeah,
100%.
I think there is no better country in the world, and like I think people don't give enough credit to the fact that every single person here in America has the same opportunity.
Yeah.
I don't have parents who gave me money or had money to put me through college or any 100%. Of that, or gave me a head start. Or, I mean, it would have been much easier if my parents gave me $1 million to start the business. I would have probably been more successful. Or actually, I probably would have been less successful because I wouldn't have gone through the struggle.
Right.
But the fact that we're in this incredible country at an incredible time when, this is how the Romans felt in 100 AD, at the peak of the Roman Empire. Right. They're, the biggest, the best, right? The most successful country in the world, the land of, the real American dream, the land of opportunity. And we have that here. And I think a lot of people take it for granted. They come up with excuses of why they can't succeed, or what kind of struggle they have, or it's so hard, or it's so, difficult, or, they were dealt bad cards. But realistically, every single person in this country who has a U.S. passport has the biggest opportunity they can ever have in their world. Yeah. And I'll just tell you a quick final story.
Yeah.
It's, my great-grandfather, who I'm named after, used to own, back in the early 1900s, used to own a big fur factory. I showed John a picture of him, like this huge fur with the huge...
Yeah. So cool.
So he owned the fur factory. He's very successful, had a huge house, a large family. He had 11 brothers, and it was a huge family. Huge house, generational wealth that they had. And then the communists came, and they took everything away.
Yeah.
You know, they shot his brother, who took the fall for everything because he didn't have any kids, and my great grandfather had like three daughters at that time already, and he took the fall for it. He got shot immediately on the spot like a dog, and everything got taken from them, right? Then 5 years later, because there was a repossession of money, 5 years later they said, hey, you can open up another business. And whoever had little money stuffed under the pillow was able to open up another business. They let them run the business for 6 months. Then they came and shot everyone and took the rest of the money. Repossessed it for the government. So there, it didn't matter how hard you worked, or it didn't matter how successful you were in business. You were in the wrong place at the wrong time in the wrong country.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, one of the biggest things here is we're all in the right place at the right time. At this point, it's just on you. There's no excuses. You know,
So well
failure
said, man.
is your
Damn.
own.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. I'll tell you this. This 4th of July, you know, obviously being an immigrant myself and coming to this country and having fought for this country, I love this country. And one of the things that just kind of came to me is like, I may have not been made in America, but I was made by America.
Boom.
And I love this country so much, and I love what you said, and I back it 100%. And in true Johnny manner, putting people on the spot, landing this ship, breaking barriers, I want to ask you guys one question. It's a fill in the blank. I'm going to start over here. I want you to fill in the blank with the following. Failure is blank. Success is blank. Fill in those blanks for us.
Failure is inevitable. And success is guaranteed with hard work.
Ooh, love it. Land the ship.
Damn. I would probably say the same thing, but I think failure is inevitable, but success is not guaranteed. Unless you put the work in, like you said, right? Because if you don't put in the work, you're obviously going to fail. But if you don't keep trying and move through failure, you're never going to be successful. And I think that's the problem with a lot of people in the country, right? Where that are like crying, oh, I don't have the same opportunity. But we have to also remember they were programmed that way by their parents and their environment.
Correct.
Right? So some people are in the right country at the right time, but are in the wrong place at the wrong time with their parents or their family or whoever programmed their mindset. You know? But I think I would agree with what he said. I think that's exactly what I would say. Yeah.
Awesome.
Dude, thank you, Alex, so much for being here. I think time is the one asset we don't get back. So
That's
you taking the time to be here with us means the world to me and JP.
Yeah.
And our listeners. Guys, if you are a business owner and you are in the US of A and you are accepting payments, Slice is the unequivocal option of anybody out there I've ever seen.
Yeah.
The technology, the customer service, and you have a present owner that is a visionary that is making sure everything is amazing. So like that's why like I said it before, you know, like I've been in positions where I've been in bad back up against the wall positions. I just want my money faster, right? Like I'm not asking for money from anybody else. I just want my money faster because I need to make a payment or a payroll, and I couldn't do that, right? Like I couldn't do it, right? So to have a place where you do next day funding, right? Like you have all these crazy great services and customer services and technology and stuff. I think Slice is undoubtedly the choice you should be using. And I'm just grateful for you, man. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Boom.
Thank you for watching the Breaking Barrier Show. Tune in on all podcast and streaming platforms.